everybody. Welcome to Rachel's Reviews. And we're really excited today. We have the Academy Awards are coming up in just a couple of days. And we have the animated Oscars, which we always look forward to. And today we're talking about both the feature films and the shorts. And I had my friend Mat Brunet with me to do this last year. And now we're doing it again this year. And thanks so much, Matt, for doing this.
Hey, you're welcome. And honestly, I am so glad to be here. Also, feeling a lot better than the
Oh,
last time we did this. You probably recall, like, I had a bad cold, my throat was like messed up, but now I am all better. I am all
yeah.
healthy, and I'm ready to go to talk about what we got with this year's
Yeah.
lineup.
Oh, I'm glad you're feeling better. Yeah, that was one of those sometimes when you record the podcast, it just seems like everything's against it. It was like we had all these buffering problems. We had all this like, no, I'm gonna persevere, push through.
Oh yeah. No, trust me, even just a few days ago, like I was doing my podcast and I started out having some technical errors, and it was a time when I also had a guest star, so it's like, oh god, everything is falling apart. It's like, why now?
So thank you to everybody who listens on the good days and those who listen on the not as good days. Really appreciate it very much. Well, do you think we should start with the features or should we start with the shorts? What do you think?
Let's actually begin with the shorts. You know,
Okay,
I
okay,
I
okay.
feel like that's usually the tradition with the Oscars, or
Yeah.
when they look into the animation lineup, they always start with the shorts.
Yeah. Well, so what's interesting about this set is that they're all pretty approachable, I would say. Maybe with Wander being the one that's a little because it's got some horror vibes in there, being a little bit not as crowd pleasing, but they're all pretty, and I guess the nudity in Beautiful Man, but I would say in general these are pretty crowd pleasing, approachable. They don't feel like experimental. They don't feel like weird. They're all pretty approachable. Would you agree?
Yeah, honestly, I would say that this is a much better lineup of animated shorts that we got this year than last year. Last year,
Yeah.
I barely remember most of them because they mostly felt like they were just being style over substance.
Yes.
And
Yes.
like, yeah, there was the one that we did enjoy,
The
the 95,
senses.
yeah, the 95 senses, but then the rest is just like, yeah, no, this ain't a good
Yeah.
list. Like
And of course that John Lennon one won. Oh,
Oh yes, because like if you want to get an Oscar, just scream out a John Lennon song. So this is Christmas.
yeah.
I'm still upset that like Once Upon a Studio didn't get a
I
nomination.
know. I know they have had some wonky nominations in the last few years. That you're just like, what are you doing? Like, what could you possibly be thinking? I
Yeah.
love Us Again, the that short. I thought that was so beautiful,
Hmm.
and I was so disappointed that didn't get nominated. But
Yeah.
that's the Oscars for you.
Yeah, but I will say though, this year it is much more of an improvement. I actually did enjoy all of these in their own
Mhm.
right, and
Yeah.
I feel like it's a lot tougher to go and pinpoint which one did I enjoy the most, or which one
Yeah.
would I personally vote for. Like that honestly required a lot of thought.
Yeah, I was struggling. I'll be curious what you decided. But let's start with Magic Candies. So this short is the other kids at the park never ask Dong Dong to play. That's okay. He's fine just playing marbles on his own. One day he buys a bag of colorful candies instead of new marbles. The first time he pops one into his mouth, his old sofa starts talking to him. The two share an unexpected conversation before the sweet melts away. So then it continues on. I won't read the rest, yeah. So this one, what was your overall thoughts about this one?
Well, honestly, I could see the charm of it. And I do, one thing I do want to add is that I know this is going to be a major fan favorite, considering that this is from Toei, and not to mention this is directed by Daisuke Nishio,
Mm-hmm.
who is a longtime director of the Dragon Ball franchise. So I can imagine a lot of
Oh,
anime fans are really going to be rooting for this one. But I will say, like, there is that element of strangeness that does occur, especially when the kid would eat his marbles, but or not the marbles, like technically they are
yeah,
candies,
the
but
candies. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Right.
like some weird things do occur during, but there is well, no pun intended, there is an element of sweetness to it where it's about appreciating the life around you, like helping the kid get a new perspective in life in order to go and approve it. Not only find more appreciation of things that are around him and even the people around him as well, like with his father or his grandmother who passed away, but also to open up more about himself, like especially to go and find a friend. So there is that cute element, but I will say there is also that weird layer that you kind of have to pass through at first, because a lot of people will be interpreting this as, you know, like the kid's first time taking some edibles. Like this is what like I'm sure some people who would take some edibles, they would definitely relate, because they would also spend some time taking an hour to talk with their couch or with their sofa. But no,
Right.
still
Yeah,
though,
yeah.
like there is that weirdness, but once you get through it, there is a nice message about having an optimistic outlook that could honestly help, like not just with your viewpoint, but also to go and improve yourself. So, very nice short.
Do you know, has this studio, it has a stop motion look to it. Have they done stop motion in the past, or because I'm surprised to hear you say that's like anime.
Yeah. Well, actually, this isn't stop. This isn't stop
It
motion.
has
This
a
is
stop
like,
motion look to it
yeah,
though.
it's very much stylized CG.
Hmm.
Honestly, it's tough to say because Toei is it's like one of the major animation studios in Japan. Like they've been
It just,
around for decades.
yeah, it
So,
just doesn't look like it doesn't look like anime to me,
um,
which was
honest,
interesting.
yeah,
Like the
like
eyes are small, doesn't have the big eyes, doesn't have the, some of those things you expect with anime.
well, maybe not initially, but it's just the way that the characters move around. Like
Mm,
especially when when Dong Dong would have to do his chores, like that has a lot of like
mm,
I would say
I
it's
could
more the
see that.
direction that is more anime like than
Mm,
the designs or like just the initial approach. Like
mm.
like just on like as an image, it doesn't look like an anime, but how it flows it very much it's
I could
very
see
much
that.
reminiscent to an anime.
I could see that. Well, I thought this was delightful. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really funny. I think the sofa was funny. Like tell your dad to stop me on the sofa, and that was funny. The dog I thought was funny. I'm just tired. I'm old and tired. Leave me alone. I really I do enjoy it, and especially those first two uh guests or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Those first two
yeah, with the candies.
yeah, with the candies. I thought they were very funny, and I enjoyed the overall aesthetic, yeah, that whole thing of like don't take for granted the things
Hmm.
around you was a nice message. And the fourth one is kind of his grandma
Yeah,
that he
like the one with the
hears.
bubble gum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's having a chat with his grandma, but I'll admit, even that one, like, it didn't really go far. It's just like he only had a chat
Yeah.
like a few times and that's it.
Yeah.
But then again, I think like she's the one who actually told Dong Dong to go outside. Like
Mhm.
technically in modern terms, his dead grandma is the one to tell him to go touch grass.
Yeah, right. Well, and that's the nice thing about shorts is they can make a short point, like just have like a quick little message and some delightful imagery, and I love watching shorts,
Yeah,
you
no,
know.
like when they hit, like
Hmm.
when they do hit, like they could bring out something magical. And not to mention like with shorts, they have a lot more room than feature films to go and actually experiment. So,
Yeah,
like you could get something that like you've never seen before. And like depending on the results, like when they work, like they could feel revolutionary.
yeah. Well, that's what made me kind of wonder if like this because I'd heard of this animation studio before, made me wonder if like, or are they kind of experimenting with this new style, this new something different with this? Kind of made me
Probably
wonder.
because Probably because with major studios, like even some of the American ones, like with Disney and Pixar, often they would use shorts as a vehicle to try to experiment with their animation to see what can work or what can they go and improve. Like they'll do that as a little bit of a test before they could fully try to implement that onto their
Yeah.
feature films. So
This
maybe
director, this director
yeah.
did Interstellar 555, which I love. That's great. That's with the with a number of other directors. Oh yeah, that's a great. I mean, totally different than this sci-fi rock opera kind of. That's what it is. It's really good.
Mhm.
How interesting. But yeah, this was one of my favorites.
No, definitely a solid contender in here.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, next we have In the Shadow of the Cypress. And this is living in a house by the sea with his daughter, a former captain who has post traumatic stress disorder, leads a tough and secluded life. And this is by Hossein Moliemi and Shireen Sohani. And yeah, what did you think about this one? This was an interesting one.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like this is the heaviest one because
Mhm.
this is the one I feel like it really has something to say. This is the one that really like its priority is to discuss about post-traumatic stress disorder and how it can affect someone, and they do so in a visual manner. But especially with the additional plot line where they have like suddenly there's this beach whale that they have to go and take care of. It honestly makes it pretty, I feel like it is quite engaging and debatably the most intense of all the animated shorts because the flow of this all depends on the mood of the captain, how he feels, and like you get to learn about like what he went through and all that kind of stuff and what he's even doing.
Yeah.
So you can feel like there is a lot of a lot of tension going on, rather it be with the relationship with his daughter or with the whole situation with the beach whale. To like you know, like there is that concern if the whale is going to make it or not. And then there's also the captain himself, with his mood trying to like manage his own mental health.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of that intensity going on, but I feel like it does come together very well. There is like a pretty solid story that does explain everything in the time that it needed, as well, again, delivering a message about PTSD to show an example of how, yeah, to show an example of how PTSD can really feel and how it could affect not just yourself, but also it could affect the people around you. How
Yeah.
it's not only destroying your own brain, but it's also destroying others and destroying the environment around you. So physically
Well, and
and
at the beginning, the doctor at the beginning, it seems like the daughter is going to leave. She's got the suitcase packed up. She's going out. That she sees the whale, and that kind of what because he's like very violent. This man.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and like and that yeah, and it I feel like it does set the mood or the tension between that relationship and
Yeah.
what's going to be going on with this. Because like it pretty much sets the tone that like she knows that he has a problem and that she, you know, it's probably best for her to leave, but the reason why she was staying throughout all this is because she was, you know, she has to go and take care of this whale, which kind of like, you know, suddenly
Changes.
changes
Yeah.
up the entire dynamic from there. So honestly,
Yeah.
it's, you know, this is a very it's the heaviest animated short on this list. I don't know if I would recommend this to everyone. Like if you're looking for like a, you know, like a more pleasant time, this is not it, but honestly, this is the one that really hits the hardest, that in terms of storytelling, in terms of the
Yeah.
message it wants to deliver, and even the animation is actually pretty nice as well. Not only presenting
Uh-huh.
metaphorically the damage of PTSD, but also just the initial style in itself. That's a lot more 2D. That leans in more to simple shapes. It's that's another aspect that I feel like is very nice as well.
Yeah, the animation is really impressive, especially towards the end when he starts having these kind of fantasies, I guess you might say, and it turns into this like sketch, like a different style of sketch animation, and it comes all these different colors, and it's just it's very, very interesting. And I think it is interesting that they made the character like kind of scary. Like he's violent. Like I wouldn't want to be around this guy.
Yeah, exactly. Like it shows how, yeah, and it shows like a lot of the side effects of PTSD and how it could turn someone into a monster. Like you
Yeah.
see that whenever the PTSD can really get to him, like he suddenly
The
he almost,
birds make
yeah,
him
he
trigger.
almost becomes like the Hulk, but he turns blue, like he turns blue. Like you
Mm.
could see that in his eyes it just becomes vacant and he just goes on a rampage. Like he does, like in his mind he doesn't know what he's doing, and that's where like at the end you see it at its max with all the sketchy animation. It's like you don't know what's going on because even he doesn't know what's going on, but you know that what's happening in the real world, it's like an absolute nightmare.
Oh, no. All right. Then our next one is called Yuck. And this is uh writer director Loic S. Pouchet. Sorry, I know I said your name terrible, but it's about couples kissing on the mouth are gross, and worst is you can't miss them when people are about to kiss. Their lips become all pink and shiny. Little Leo laughs at them just like all the kids at summer camp, but he has a secret he won't tell his friends. His own mouth has actually begun glistening, and in reality, Leo desperately wants to give kissing a try. So, what do you think of this one?
This one, all right. I think we're gonna go into a complete 180 where we went into something very heavy, but this is
Yeah,
like this one is like the most, well, maybe the second most pleasant because like Magic Candies, like it's all around lighthearted and fun, but this one comes close second place on that department. But it is a very cute short that highlights about it's about young love, basically.
yeah,
It's about kids discovering what love is and how they go into that transition of finding like love, like the aspects of love is kind of gross. And it's like, honestly, it's like, it's, there is that side of it that feels so weird that the kids are purposely going around the beach looking for people for kissing just to go and like make a loud reaction to it. But then again, like, they are kids and
yeah. Little
kids
kids,
actually,
yeah.
yeah, kids do that sometimes. But then you actually do see like the main character who does fall in love with another girl, but like he's just entering into that phase and we're seeing that transition and really highlights how that transition can actually be very difficult. And you look, and there is a part of it where I guess like, yeah, if you're a little kid you're gonna side with the kids going, yeah. But as a grown up watching
Yeah.
this, it's like you kind of want to root for the kid to like actually learn about what love is. And also I just want to mention, oh my god, like I know I mentioned how the kids like, yeah, like kids be kids, but oh my god, it also highlights how cruel they can be. Like
Yeah.
absolutely heartless. Like even at the like it was at the point where like near the end of it, like I was so fed up and like so upset with how these kids have been treating the main character. Like I'm just there like somebody should go and piss in their sleeping bag, honestly. Like they deserve
Yeah.
it.
Well, yeah, kids, it did kind of remind me of when I was like 12, 13. I just started my period. We went to outdoor camp for school. I don't even know if they still do that, but we did it at the time for the weekend. We were at this outdoor camp and somehow somebody found my tampons and were like showing it. You know what? I was so embarrassed. And you just think like, uh, especially now, I'm just like, what were they thinking? Like who, like it's like not something to be embarrassed about. And they're all going to be in that same position in the matter, soon, like, and,
It's like you could
it's kind of similar.
it's like you could tell the other girls in that past like this will be you.
Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, they kind of had some of those vibes, but it's really sweet. And I loved the animation. You know what this movie, not in tone, but It reminded me a little bit in aesthetics of saw the TV Glow. I don't know if you saw that last year, but just in the way it used
A
color
little.
and the way it had sort of this nostalgic feel and the music, it kind of reminded me of that a little bit. But yeah, I loved the sort of color blocking aesthetic that they used. And the bright colors. I loved the pink. It was just I thought it was really cute.
Yeah, it is charming. And I will say that there is a tiny bit of envy that I do have. It's like, how great would it be in real life if like if you can indicate what love is just by seeing glowing lips.
Yeah, that would
If
be very helpful.
Oh my god, I need that indicator. It's like if someone likes me, then
Yeah.
they'll have their lips glowing. It's like that could be an obvious tell. I need the obvious tells.
Yeah, although it could get you into trouble if you're in a relationship. And
Oh,
you
well,
know what I
yeah.
mean? It
You
could get
know,
you
you
in
got give
trouble.
or take, but I mean, we can manage.
It would
We can
help.
adapt.
Yeah, I would like it. It would be nice.
Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
So the next one, and actually the next two I actually had seen at South by Southwest. So that was kind of fun to see them here. It's Wander to Wonder. And this is in the 1980s. Mary, Billy Budd, and Fumbleton starred in the children's television program Wander to Wonder. They are left alone in the studio after the show's originator passes away. The director Nina Gantz, and so yeah, this one's has some horror vibes. It's a little gross at times. What did you think of it?
Well, I wouldn't necessarily say that it is horror based specifically, but I do appreciate it because I feel like it is a new twist to the children's entertainment gone horribly wrong trope.
Yeah.
Because nowadays, like we've seen it so commonly, down to the point where I feel like it's kind of oversaturated now, especially with things like Five Nights at Freddy's or Poppy's Playtime and stuff like that. But
Mm.
this one, I feel like with Wonder to Wonder, it does give it a unique twist to it. I don't know if I would say it's a horror, but more of a survival drama in a sense.
It's gross, like kind of a horror,
Oh
like
yeah.
it's grossing you out, kind of is
Yeah.
kind of what I thought more. And there's like a little bit of tension. Are they gonna be able to get out? Are they gonna survive? But yeah, I can see what you're saying too.
Yeah, like maybe it is horror, but it's like the different kind of horror than what we've regularly gotten with all the jump scares and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
It's not like
And
Coraline or something.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and with this one is that it's more like atmospheric and it's kind of creepy where you do wonder where did things go wrong or how did it come to this where
Yeah.
suddenly they're all in themselves, and especially like kind of like looking into their psyche on how like they're still kind of stuck in the past in the way that the only thing that's going that gets them going is to pretend that Wander to Wonder somehow still exists, even though the guy obviously, like, there's this live action man, he's been like long dead since. But it is fascinating to see, especially just the world building of it all, to see the environment and to wonder, no pun intended, how is it that this fan favorite children's show that was popular at one point now suddenly it's just long past its prime. And on top of that, the characters, like the little people playing the dressed up like wonder characters, that they're just struggling to survive, that they're
Yeah.
doing everything they can in order to make sure they have the food that they need, which they were almost out.
Yeah.
And
They're eating a fly at a certain point.
oh
That's
yeah,
pretty gross.
and then we
It's a
see
pretty
the
gross movie.
yeah, then we see the aftermath of like
The
trying to
fire.
make no, or yeah, there is that, but I mean like the episode that they wanted to record about don't eat flies.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's not pleasant, and especially with how some of the characters that like, not to mention how they've been losing their minds, where
Yeah.
one guy just wants to juggle. Then you got the woman Mary that she's debatably the one who has it the most together, but she's still attached to her Wonder to Wonder past. And then you got the other guy who like wants to be a Shakespearean actor, but I guess for him pants are like optional. Like he like for a good chunk of it, he's literally been Donald ducking his way through the entire short.
Yeah. Well, then they kill a bird at one point, so that's gnarly. And then there's this big fire, and the animation was pretty cool with the fire, how they were able to do that. This was my least favorite of the 5, but it's an interesting watch.
I do understand it is an acquired taste. Like I could see that, like, yeah, for you, like I understand why you wouldn't like it. And for people who are squeamish, they're not going to be fans of this, but I could see for other groups of people that this could be
Yeah.
their favorite.
Yeah, and I certainly didn't hate it. It's just my least favorite of the 5.
No.
All right. So last one is Beautiful Men. And this one is the insecurities of 3 bald brothers intensify during their stay in an Istanbul hotel for hair transplants. And this is director Nicholas Kepens. He's director and writer, and Angela Tissons. So yeah, what do you think of this one?
You know, I will say, and honestly, this is going to be an interesting take. Out of all the animated shorts here, this is the one that I want to see be turned into a full-on movie, because I'll just say now that my criticism with this is that I don't feel like I got enough of what it wants to talk about, because this is a short that basically looks into male insecurity, which I think it's a great concept. I think it is an awesome idea that they should really look into and actually fully analyze. I think it would be fantastic. And you do get some of that with the 3 brothers and how their insecurities would get the best of them, and how their insecurities would ultimately make them quickly turn on each other. But the problem is that, well, it is a short, and even though, like, yeah, I mean, you only got a limited amount of time in order to present what you want to go and talk about, but I kind of felt like I wanted to see more of it. I wanted to see them really explore the psyche of male insecurity. I want to see more of the dynamic of the 3 brothers and how they could slowly but surely like, you know, go crazy with their insecurities, especially with them being unsure if they will even have that transplant in the first place because one screwed up the appointment. I wanted to really see like how much more they could really get into this, because again, I feel like out of all of these, you could take this one, you could turn that into a feature film, regardless if it would be animated or live action. But I think this is the one that has like a great template for a full-on movie.
Yeah. You do have to be pretty comfortable with animated male nudity. There's a lot.
We kind of have a theme here, by the way, with this year's nominations, at least with the stop motion ones. It's like, why do we, somehow like we jump from like one with like stop motion penis, and now we got another one with like more stop motion penis. It's like, what's with the nominations? Why them specifically?
Yeah, what was going on with the nominating committee? I didn't even realize that they were brothers until I read the synopsis. I'm like, oh, they're brothers. Somehow, I don't know. I just thought that they were like friends. I didn't realize that they were brothers. So that's interesting. But yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with what you're saying, that you do kind of wish you could gotten to know them more. Like, this does scream for like Charlie Kaufman to come in and let's give this the Animal Lisa treatment.
Yes. Yeah, and
That would
like
be
even the
really
style
good.
it's yeah, the style itself, come to think of it, it does feel a lot like Anomalisa.
Yeah, and
And even like
he likes the animated nudity too, so it's a perfect match.
yeah, and and even the tone, like it feels similar. Like it could honestly, I feel like this would be the kind that, like, oddly enough, it's weird how it didn't actually like get into it, but like it could have gone and gotten into like some of that animated surrealism, like especially to explore a bit of their insecurities.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, out of these five, which one would you vote for?
Oh boy, like I said, it's honestly a very tough pick, but for my choice at least, I think I might go with In the Shadow of the Cypress.
Mhm.
Mainly
I could
because
see
it's
that.
the one that hits the hardest, like in terms of its messaging, in terms of its storytelling. That's the one that left me with the strongest impact. That's the one that made me feel like I fully remember like what happened with the narrative, like what's been going on with the characters, and especially like how it presents PTSD, especially with that great animation style. So like all of these are definitely great, but at least for my pick, I do believe I'm gonna go with In the Shadow of the Cypress. But with that said though, considering with what recently happened, I will say that if I would guess which one would most likely win, I might say, I'm sorry to say this, Rachel, but maybe Wonder to Wonder. And that's mainly
Really?
because, well, I say this because, well, we saw during the weekend that it actually won the Annie Award for Best
Oh, did
Short.
it? I didn't
Yeah,
pay attention to that.
that,
Okay.
that's the one that actually got the win.
Interesting.
So that's why.
Interesting.
So that's why. Like
Oh.
I'm not saying that I
It
want.
could. I think it won at cons and other festivals. So I was going to say I thought Beautiful Men would win. I won at cons. It won at other festivals. And so that's kind of why I thought that. But it could. It would be a pretty strange. I feel like it would be a little bit of a strange win for them. But it's well done. I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
I think the one that I would pick as far as my favorite, I think I would pick Yuck. I think Yuck is my favorite.
Uh
I just really enjoyed the animation and the story and the humor and just thought it was really cute. So let us know if you get to see any of these, what you think and what you would pick and what you think will be the winner. Because it's always it's one of those ones where you can make your Oscar ballot. The shorts in general is if you get the shorts right, then you can that'll go a long way in doing really well on your Oscar ballot.
Oh yeah, that's
You
like
know,
total bragging rights right
yeah,
there. I mean, you can I mean, some of the nominations you can easily go and predict, but
yeah.
then if you're able to go and land one of the shorts nominations, oh man, like that's like bonus points.
Yeah.
That's like a +2 right there.
Hey, this is David from the Piecing It Together podcast, a podcast about movies and the movies that inspire them. For over 4 years, each week, a guest and I take a look at a new movie through the lens of what other movies we think were either an influence or connect in some other way. It's a fun, unique way to discuss films that leads to a great list of other movies to check out that either explore the same themes and ideas or maybe utilize similar filmmaking techniques. Including special episodes in our side series that twist the format, we've done over 200 episodes, so there's bound to be one on a film you've been thinking about and want to dig deeper into. So check us out on all the major podcasting apps and at piecingpod.com.
Let's talk about these feature films because speaking of unpredictability, I mean, this year is like I think it's one of the hardest to predict as far as the animation. I mean, just the Oscars in general, I feel like are really unpredictable this year. In most categories, I feel like Kieran is really the only one that's kind of, been pretty predictable in his category as supporting actor. But in animation, I mean, it's a 2-horse race. It seems like at least, but I feel like it's pretty hard to predict which one is going to win. So let's dive in. Let's talk a little bit about each of these. And we did our 2024 recap. So if you want even longer discussion, you can check that out of each one of these. But let's talk first about Inside Out 2. And
Yeah.
yes, and so this was directed by Kelsey Mann, her debut. for Pixar, and writers Meg Lefevre, Dave Holstein, Kelsey Mann. And of course, it's a continuation of our story from Inside Out 1. Riley entering puberty and experiencing brand new, more complex emotions as a result. So, what did you think about this one overall?
I really like this movie, and I probably mentioned this before, but I've seen many people actually say that it is so far the best non-Toy Story Pixar sequel. And the more I think about it, yeah, the more I do agree. And I think it is worth noting also that during the production, Pete Docter also stepped in a bit to be like a co-director, which honestly, his imprint on it did show, because the work that has been done with Inside Out 2, like, it is able to go and actually successfully capture what made that first movie absolutely great, but also presenting an additional layer, especially in terms of discussing about anxiety, or that when you do get older, you suddenly develop more complex emotions. So it's not just with joy, sadness, disgust, fear, and anger, but then suddenly you get the additions of anxiety, envy, ennui, and embarrassment. And that really plays up a lot into like the dynamic of what's going on between the two narratives, between what's happening in Riley's head, like with the little adventures with the emotions, and then you also get Riley's side of the story, where she wants to get into this elite high school hockey, like this hockey team. So like and like the stress of trying to get into it, and like her commitment in doing so, while the emotions on the inside are trying to make sure that can go and happen. But honestly, it is so well managed together. And plus, again, you get a lot of the fun that you get in the original Inside Out, like especially with the comedy, with the dynamic of the different emotions. It's a lot of fun. And not to mention wonderful voice acting, especially what I consider to be one of the top voice acting of the year would be Maya Hawke as Anxiety. Like, not only is she perfectly casted, but she played the role tremendously well. I think Anxiety alone made Inside Out 2 like one of the best animated characters this year, a perfect representation of anxiety, and really shows that, like, while it may feel like anxiety is a villain, it's not. Like, to fully understand what anxiety is, like, you have to understand it's not actually the villain. It's something that you have to learn to go and work with, even though, like, the ways that it's trying to help you out, like, it's sometimes not so beneficial. So honestly, it is a great sequel, and definitely deserving of the nomination. And I'll even say that, even though, like, as you mentioned before, it's like, okay, so it's like a like a, like a race between two different movies. I think honestly, this is one where we cannot rule this one out. I feel like there is that
Yeah.
likelihood where Inside Out 2 could suddenly make like this massive upset to suddenly swoop in to go and grab the win. We have seen this before, where suddenly it's the Disney movie that would suddenly make the
Yeah.
unexpected surprise. We kind of saw that, like, it kind of reminds me a bit of like
Big Hero 6.
yeah, I was about to say that,
Yeah, yeah.
actually. Like about 10 years ago, where a lot of people were focusing on either How to Train Your Dragon 2 or the Lego movie, but then suddenly the Oscars decided to go with Big Hero 6.
Yeah,
So
they didn't even nominate Lego. But yeah, you never can count out Pixar, especially since it was the most successful movie period of the entire year. So everybody, all the Academy voters will have seen it. They will have all seen it. And you hope that they will have seen, some of these other nominees, but that's not always the case, especially with animation, unfortunately. And so, yeah, I mean, I would never count it out. And I did enjoy it. I was very nervous about it going into it, because anxiety is not an emotion, and anxiety is a symptom. It's a condition. It's like a totally different thing than sadness, let's say. Like, they're very different. And I also, and I still do, I think that they have redundancies now. I mean, I don't think there's that much difference between fear and embarrassment. I don't think there's that much difference between disgust and envy. I don't think there's that much. So anxiety and fear, I think, are very similar emotions. And so like they've got some redundancy going on. We've got some repeating of similar themes from the first movie. I didn't care about any of that because the story overall worked and the emotions worked. And so the movie won me over, even though I came in kind of skeptical about it. And I thought the marketing was very poor. And what I think was so smart about this movie is that they focused on Riley and her friends, because when you're in, especially those middle school years, it is such a hard time for friends, and friends mean so much. You think that is the world, like they're everything when you're that age. And so the idea of her losing her friends, and I remember in those middle school years going through a lot of friends, like all of a sudden this person's not my friend anymore and I don't know why, and maybe I'm not friends with this other person, and maybe they were feeling the same way. It's a very, very hard time when it comes to friends. And I really think that they captured that well. And you could have so many great conversations with your teenage girls particularly, but all your teenage kids, talking about what's going on with you and your friends. How can you relate to what Riley's experiencing here? And so yeah, I think it worked almost in spite of itself for me.
No, I do agree with you. I think like that's one thing that I feel like it's not often talked about, is how like like the Riley side like really helps to make Inside Out 2 so strong. And
Yeah.
like to go back a little bit into what you've talked about, like it's not just the biggest movie of 2024, but we're also talking about what is officially the biggest animated movie of all time.
Yeah, that's true.
That's going to be something that will give it some great leverage.
Yeah, that's true. All right, let's talk about the Wild Robot. So the Wild Robot is from DreamWorks, and this was director Chris Sanders, writers Chris Sanders and Peter Brown. Stars Lupita Nyong'o, Pedro Pascal, Kit Connor. And after a shipwreck, an intelligent robot called Roz is stranded on an uninhabited island. To survive the harsh environment, Roz bonds with the island's animals and cares for an orphan baby geese. So,
question. What kind of island is that again?
The uninhabited.
There we go. I was wondering. you slid through that. Like, what was going on with your words right there?
So yes, so this movie I loved. It was my favorite movie of the year. And what I loved so much about it was I loved how it captured the transformative experience of nurturing others. That it can't help, but even a robot can't help be changed by nurturing, loving, mothering, whatever word you want to use, loving this goose. And it literally changes her programming. I loved that. And it was just such like a peaceful, sweet, lovely, beautifully animated movie. So I really enjoyed it. And it's very exciting because this got nominated for Best Sound and Best Score.
Mm-hmm.
That's unusual for an animated film to get multiple nominations.
Yeah, especially in recent years.
Yeah.
And even with the Wild Robot, like it honestly feels like it's been such a long time since we've seen an animated movie be nominated for Best Sound. I can't even recall the last time that actually occurred. And not to mention, it is unfortunate that like there was another nomination it could have gotten, but it missed its mark, sadly.
I would have loved for it to get Best Picture.
Well, okay, I was referring to Best Original Song with Kiss the Sky, but I mean, like, Best Picture, it's like, nah, we ain't there yet. Like, as great as it would be to see the Academy nominate an animated film for Best Picture, like, we're still far from that, unfortunately.
We haven't gotten it since Up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, not even. It's Toy Story 3.
Oh, yeah. Toy Story, yeah. So, but it would have been nice, but yeah, let's see. I'm seeing here Oscar animated movies for Best Sound. This is interesting. Bambi, Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Monsters Inc., Finding Nemo. This is what this list says.
I do remember Ratatouille is also nominated.
Finding Nemo, The Incredibles, The Polar Express,
Oh, Polar Express.
Ratatouille. That was nominated for 2 because at the time they had 2 sound. It was nominated for
that's
editing
true.
and mixing. Wall-E
yeah.
also nominated for 2. Up,
Of course.
Toy Story 3, and Soul. So Soul would have been the last one.
Oh, Soul
according
was the
to this
last one.
list, so.
Oh wow, I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah, according to this list on IMDb. So take that with a grain of salt. I haven't done heavy research.
Oh, according to IMDb. Wow.
Yeah. But I loved the vocal performances. I loved the fact that DreamWorks didn't feel a need to DreamWorksify it, make it all snarky and, try to appeal to the kids. Like, this is a pretty serious movie.
Yeah, it's very much unlike DreamWorks. And I'd even say that I feel like this is the closest that we've seen a mainstream animated movie from one of the major studios that they went into a direction that feels like it's more like something from an independent film. Because the concept itself is very simple. You take a robot and you put it on an island filled with animals, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
But what really makes up for it is that its top priority is the emotional core. Yeah. It's the emotions of the characters, and they put that as like the top priority, the most important thing to go and highlight. And that's what really drives the movie. That's what really makes it so engaging to go and see Roz as she tries to like blend in with the crowd, to be a part of the forest with all the animals, even though they all have trust issues, of course, because, well, they're animals. That's part of their instinct to go and survive. But then when she had to take the responsibility of being a mother to this little gosling, like, suddenly the movie does change up, where we see the relationship really blossom into something different. And even that one can have some of their own depth and complexities. That's why one of my favorite characters is actually Bright Bill, because you do see, like, not just how, like, it would be by having a robot as your mother, but, like, you also see some of the negative side effects as well. And you see him like starting to adapt his own identity, his own personality, and learning about his own past as well, where you see, like, even though he has some elements that could have handicapped his life, he still manages to go and pull through. So this is a very, very heartwarming feature. Now, I will say, though, that I don't know if I agree with many people who say that this is the best DreamWorks film ever, because I do feel like there are a few elements that they might have rushed through, like the added in villain. Like, I felt like it didn't really work out as much. But then, like, the third act, like, it felt like, yeah, as intense as it could be, like, it felt like it just went by very quickly to go and add in like a sudden twist to the whole narrative of what's going on. But still, though, it is an amazingly crafted feature in its own right. And I do understand how it is a top contender, because this is one of those movies that, with every element in this film, like, they're able to go and do it so well, including, like, and even the animation itself is worth noting how like, especially when they try to make it so painterly. Like, it's almost like they did the same thing with what they've done before with Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, but able to pull off a little bit of its own flavor. Like, it's a little bit different than what they've done with that feature.
No. Yeah, that's fair. I think it would probably be in my, like, top 5, though.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think so. Yeah. All right, let's talk about Memoirs of a Snail, or Memoir of a Snail. This is director and writer Adam Elliott, and a bittersweet memoir of a melancholic woman called Grace Pudell, a hoarder of snails, romance novels, and guinea pigs. And this stars Jackie Weaver, Sarah Snook, and Charlotte Belsey. So when I when I put my little quote on Rotten Tomatoes, I said, very depressing, but it did win me over in the end. I love the animation. And that is basically how I feel about this film.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's just very it's like, around every, it's like this is a horror movie, except you replace the horror with depression. Where around every corner,
Really
where
do.
around
It's-
every corner, suddenly you see a moment where Grace gets some bad luck, and it's kind of like the old lady. Like you kind of feel like you got to react the same way as like the old lady that befriends her. You're just there like. Ah,
Yeah.
bugger. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that sucks. But
I
yeah,
thought it was kind of unrelenting in just how bleak it was, and then finally at the end, when there is a kind of a happy ending, for her, at least with the brother, and but yeah, it was. I just felt kind of exhausted after I watched it.
Yeah,
You
it
know?
yeah, it does feel merciless in terms of the emotions that they would go and deliver, because it's like it smacks you down with like like sad moment after sad moment after sad moment, and just when you think like things can go better for her, it's suddenly like, oh no, okay, nope,
Yeah.
it's actually pretty bad. So like you see it happen again and again and again. But I do agree with the ending, like, okay, kind of minor spoilers, but I'll try not to say too much about it. But I do feel like it manages to stick the landing and to
Yeah.
like really highlight what this movie is about, like to ultimately deliver the message, like to tell, the main character to keep pushing through in life, and how like it ultimately works things out. Like it's almost like the ending kind of felt like a bit of an apology to the to the viewer, like, sorry I made you so depressed during the whole time. Here's a nice happy ending where now we're gonna throw you all the good things that can happen to her. Well,
Yeah.
maybe not all the good things, but like to make sure that she ends up feeling happy at the end.
Yeah.
But
But I do think that Mary Max is, in my opinion, I do think that's the superior film by the same animator and director. I just thought that Mary Max just had more humanity. I just enjoyed it more.
yeah, I
Yeah.
understand. I could see Mary and Max being a stronger film, or be more of a favorite compared to Memoir of a Snail. But
Mm-hmm.
and I do agree. Like for me, I find that it is the weakest of the nominees this year. But
Yeah.
still, though, it is very solid in its own right.
And he's an
At least.
incredible animator. I mean, Adam Elliott, what he does and the worlds he builds, and the just every little detail of every part of the house and every part of I mean, just incredible.
Oh yeah, the animation is so superb.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great stop motion animation there.
All right. Let's talk about a flow next. So this is our other big contender, which is, I'm very excited about it just because he deserves it. He's an incredible animator, Gintz. And it's just nice to see so much attention being given to such a small film. And it's and it's by director and writer Gintz Zilbadolis. And if you want to learn more about him, I did a full interview with him on this channel.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool. I interviewed him, and I actually interviewed Diane Warren at South by Southwest. So I've interviewed 2 of the nominees.
Oh, nice.
That's kind of cool. Okay, so cat is a solitary animal, but as its home is devastated by a great flood, he finds refuge on a boat populated by various species and will have to team up with them despite their differences. Another thing that's interesting about Flow is that it's also nominated for International Feature. And International Feature has gotten very interesting because Emilia Perez was the clear favorite, got the most nominees. It still might win. But then it's gotten all of this backlash and scandal and everything. It's not a good film, but it still could win. But then there's I'm Still Here, which was also nominated for Best Picture, which is a very good film and much easier to root for. Like it's just more of like a kind of movie. Crowd pleaser. It's more of a crowd pleaser.
Okay.
And so that one could end up winning, because a lot of times the ones that are also nominated for Best Picture end up winning, but usually there's not 2. So that's interesting. But I could see an upset if you're looking for what could be a dark horse of the Oscars. I could see, because people are kind of split on Emilia Perez and I'm Still Here, I could see Flow coming in and being a surprise. It's a long shot, but I could see it.
Oh,
I could
that
see
is
it. Yeah.
interesting. Honestly, it is true. Like in recent years, Emilia Perez has been in like massive hot water. And I can
Yeah.
imagine like there will be some that I could see winning an Oscar for. Like like I think Zoe Saldana
Yeah.
still has it pretty secure with her nomination for Best Supporting Actress, and maybe a few others as well. But it
Yeah.
is true that with Emilia Perez in general, considering the controversy that's been surrounding it, like, yeah, its chances of winning some of the others, including Best International Picture, yeah, it could be harmed. So
Yeah.
honestly, like I still kind of feel like the chances of Flo winning Best International Feature, it might be a bit low, but it is true. It's not necessarily zero. There is that
Yeah.
possible likelihood. And if that does happen, oh my God, that would be crazy. Like I don't think it has ever happened before that an animated film won in that category. Like there
Yeah.
have been some nominees before, like
Yeah.
Flea and Waltz with
Waltz with
Bashir.
Bashir. Yeah.
I,
I don't know. I don't think anyone ever has. And this would be, as far as I know, I think the only international film with no language. Like there's no dialogue. I don't think that's
I
ever
think there
happened.
there probably have been before, but in this case here, like yeah, it is true that with Flow, it is a very unique movie in general, not just an animated film, but a very unique movie.
Because it used to be non-English,
Mhm.
or I think they actually called it
Yeah, they
foreign
used to say
film,
foreign.
and then they changed it to international. And so yeah, I mean, like I said, long shot, but if you want to throw a Hail Mary, because that's how you end up doing really well. I mean, I don't do that well, so don't listen to me. But like I feel like that you want to have like a couple. You don't want to go with just the safe picks on your Oscar ballot. You want to try a few things because there's always a couple surprises. And then if you're lucky and you get those surprises, then you'll really win the thing, you
Oh
know.
yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, it's going to be interesting because it won the Golden Globe, and
Mhm.
but then the Wild Robot won has won most everything else, but it also won
Uh,
Independent for the Annies, and Wild Robot won
oh.
best at the Annies. Wild Robot won for Critics' Choice. We haven't had the BAFTAs yet, so we'll see what they do. But yeah, those are definitely the two front runners.
Yeah, it is true. I don't know if I would say that the Wild Robot won everything else. From what I've seen, like a lot of it feels a bit split, where like some of them do go to Flow, and a lot of others do go to the Wild Robot. So
Mm-hmm.
like a lot of it often felt pretty neck and neck. But in this case here with Flow, I like it's still a massive front runner. I think like ever since the Golden Globes, like that really initiated its popularity to just skyrocket with that unexpected win right there.
So
And
you're picking Flow for your pick. Your
well,
for
I'll
your
get
prediction.
okay, hold on. I'll go much later into that. But honestly, I think there is that strong likelihood. Like I could totally see a circumstance where Flo would win. And even like when I would go and talk to people about like this year's
Yeah.
Oscars, like even like when I talk to people who couldn't care less about animation, they would tell me their favorite is Flo.
Yeah.
So I think so. Yeah, I do agree. Like it definitely is a top contender, but
Yeah.
would it win? I'll still have to like think about it.
It's really hard. And I think the BAFTA will what wins at BAFTA will really say a lot.
Mhm.
Because I think that's the last precursor animation because the SAG doesn't do animation, I
Or
don't think.
or at least like the significant one, like the
Yeah,
big,
yeah,
like
yeah.
one of the big ones. Although the
Yeah.
BAFTA, I will say, I don't know because they might have a little bit of a bias with the next movie that we will be talking about.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. But I mean, what I really admired about this movie, and there's lots to admire, but I really admired that he has this photorealism, but he doesn't lose his own style. Like, because sometimes I think they can be we can be so caught up in, oh, does it look exactly real? You know, that you lose the artist touch to it. And it's like
Um,
I live in the real world. I don't need to see that on the screen. I want to see animation, you know. And I thought that he did a beautiful job with that of like you could still see his brush strokes, you could still see his imprint, but yet it had, you know what I'm saying? And so I thought that was really beautiful. I do think I think I would have liked it maybe a tad better if it was a short, another one of those that it was like a featurette, but I really did. It was very sweet, very likable.
Yeah, it is true that when you think of the animation, like it's not as refined as the Wild Robot, but there is a little bit of that artistic style that feels like it was, like it was brushed to life in a way. But the one thing I will say, what I love about Flow is the unpredictable nature, because of the fact that the characters are literally just animals. Like, these are just like, we're not just talking about like the secret life of pets or anything like that. No, we're talking about animals being animals. And when I was watching, I kind of had to rewire my way of thinking when watching this, because like, you'll see the cat is in peril. Like, you got to think like, oh, why can't the cat just do this? Or why can't the cat just do that? No, because it's a cat. It's not a cartoon cat. It's not a cat that thinks like a person. It's a cat. So from there, like, it's so fascinating to see how these animals react, how they work together. Like, you notice like how, like, there are probably like a few instances where things can get like pretty weird, honestly, but no spoilers, by the way. Like, let's just say there's a moment with like, it kind of has its own Poochie, where like suddenly the cat, the cat is there looking at another character going, I have to go now, my planet needs me. Whoop. And then so yeah, you'll get some of those surreal moments, but from there though, I love the storytelling. I love how the characters are predicted, like how it takes advantage of the animals being animals to present their personalities, for their actions to speak louder than their words. I think like that level of storytelling is honestly highly creative, and that really does stand out for me.
Yeah, I agree. It was very immersive. It was very like peaceful. It was just a pleasant movie to watch. And so yeah, I asked Gintz in my interview. I said, was there any debate about whether you should have the animals talking or not? And he just said like, no, this was always kind of his vision. And that was just brilliant, because if the animals were talking, it would take away so much from the whole. It would just be way more generic, and what it is it just feels more unique and special.
Yeah, and not to mention that it also adds this element of mystery, because we're watching this post-apocalyptic world and it never answers what happened. Like, you don't see anything that indicates what caused the world to like massively flood. You don't see any like backstory or any exposition about what happened in the past. It doesn't say anything about what happened to the people. You're kind of left there like you're kind of left there exploring this entire world, and while you're kind of left with this mystery of what's going, like what happened, but it's not necessarily an important thing to go and answer, because the priority is to make sure that these animals can make it safe to
survive.
To survive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would be so thrilled if it did win, because I mean, it's the only time, it would be the only time that an independent, small, foreign film, like nothing's been even like, the closest we've had is, I guess, like Studio Ghibli, but that's not independent really. But like,
it's Miyazaki.
It's foreign, at least I guess, but we've never really had anything like this win. And so it would be so exciting to just for animation. This is like practically a one-man show. He just made this. I mean, it's so cool. Like, I've loved following him through this whole award season, and just yesterday he was posting on Twitter he's working on the new film on the plane, his next film on the laptop. He's got it out, he's working. I'm like, you're so cool. So yeah, I would love if he wins. Yeah, all right, let's talk.
Well, I just wanted to add, like, absolutely, it would be unprecedented, and it would be so unexpected, but also like a significant milestone to show like it's not just exclusively the mainstream stuff.
Yeah.
Like I know a lot of people complain and focus about like Disney and stuff like that, but like even beating out all the other big name mainstream players in order to go and get that win,
Oh.
that would be massive, and especially would help give more interest in animation in general, like, and especially beyond what beyond what the mainstream would go
Yeah.
and offer.
Because it didn't even have like I don't think it's not G Kids, right?
No, not even.
No, it didn't even have G Kids. It didn't have Netflix. It didn't have, like some of these other more indie nominees have had had that. But this just like people just really liked it, and that's exciting.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
like it's really a film that it's a film that just stands in its own merits. It doesn't
Yeah.
need any big name directors or big name studios. It's just the movie. It's like the movie speaks for itself of why it is a top contender.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
All right. Last one we have to talk about is Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. Top dog Gromit springs into action to save his master when Wallace's high-tech invention goes rogue and he is framed for a series of suspicious crimes. And this is director Merlin Crossingham and Nick Park, who I actually have interviewed both of them way back, like in 2018, I think, for Rotoscopers. It's just a audio. I mean, it was just a written interview,
Okay.
It wasn't on the podcast because I didn't have a podcast then. And then writers Mark Burton and Nick Park, Ben Whitehead, Peter Kay, Lauren Patel. And I was nervous about this because I thought that the Chicken Run sequel was underwhelming, disappointing.
Mhm.
And so I'm like, oh. And I was thoroughly delighted by it. I thought it was really funny. I loved the animation. Like I was having a debate, and I need to rewatch Were Rabbit, but I was having a debate with myself. Do I like Vengeance Most Foul better than Were Rabbit?
Oh,
And
wow.
I might. But they're both great. So yeah, and I loved the penguin. He was hilarious. So yeah, I just thought it was funny. And of course I love the animation. I love Wallace and Gromit. So it was a big win.
Yeah, this is a hot take, but this is my favorite. Out of all of them, all the ones that were nominated, Wallace and Gromit was the one that I love the most. Like beforehand, before the holidays, like I was kind of debating. I was like, oh, okay, maybe like, and this was even before I saw Flow. So I was like, oh, maybe like could be Wild Robot, could be Inside Out 2. I don't know. We'll see. And then that movie came out and it's like, I want that to win. Will it? Unlikely. But still though, I love the movie. And like you, there was a bit of nervousness regarding if the movie would actually be worthwhile, because I did not really like the second Chicken Run movie either. I thought it was underwhelming. It really felt like Aardman made their own version of a Disney direct-to-home media sequel. But this one, though, this feels like a true Wallace and Gromit movie. Like they are back in their game, back to the formula we all know and love, and everything works out so perfectly. Just the comedy is fantastic. Like you do get that enjoyable British style humor that they managed to nail great. The element of suspense is also there as well, especially with the smart gnomes and with the plot of Feathers McGraw. That's also fantastic. And even the character dynamic of Wallace and Gromit. like like they're still their charming selves. Like you still see a lot of that wonderful stop motion animation. And not to mention, I do want to give a shout out to Ben Whitehead. Honestly, one of, or possibly the best voice replacement that we've
Yeah.
had in a long time.
Yeah.
Like there have been a lot of them that they would do a great job. Like even in Inside Out 2, I forgot her name, Liza Lepeni and Tony Hale.
Oh yeah.
They
That's true. They did a good job.
they actually did great
Yeah.
as Fear and Disgust. But Ben Whitehead, it is like virtually identical to Peter Salas's performance. It's not like, oh, okay, you kind of hear a difference, but it's still good. No, this is like spot on, like pitch perfect, and even capturing the personality very well of Wallace. And especially like even Wallace's character during this film, like you see a little bit more of a range where you also see him be upset, you also see him be sad, be angry, and all that kind of stuff. That so you explore a bit more of like who Wallace is, especially when there are times when like he could be down, and like when he's got his inventions taken away from him. So definitely great in terms of expanding the characters that we all know and love. So from there, I had a wonderful time with this sequel. Like everything it wants to try to accomplish, it's great. Like as an addition to Wallace and Gromit, and as a movie, it's just amazing. Now, I don't know if I would be at the point if I would say like, oh, this is better than Curse of the Were-Rabbit, because I adore that feature as well. But still, it's like they're about on par. And honestly, it would be a dream of mine if suddenly there would be this massive upset where the winner turns out to be Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. Like that would be my dream scenario.
It's like Netflix, abandon Emilia Perez and put all your energy and money behind Wallace and Gromit.
Exactly. You know that Wallace never said any crazy things on Twitter or anything like that. You know Vengeance Most Foul doesn't have a weird song about going from penis to vagina. So at least with Vengeance Most Foul, it's a secure, it's worth campaigning for.
Yeah.
But
why do you think that Aardman stop motion has never really taken off in the United States the way that I feel like it should? Like they tried for a long, like Sony tried with the Shaun the Sheep. They tried with a bunch of those movies to like release them, and they like did nothing. And it just feels like I worried sometimes that especially young kids are just being accustomed to all they know and all they like is CGI animation. And because I just feel like so many of these Aardman films have all of the elements of so many films that do so well, like your Minions, for instance. Like is there? I just feel like somebody that likes Minions should like Shaun the Sheep. They're very similar, and I don't know. I just wonder what it is that it just doesn't seem like it's taken off in the States the way that I wish it did.
It's tough to really pinpoint. Like I understand, because like like throughout the history of Aardman, like there have been attempts to like get into the US and like appeal to them as well.
Well, and Leica, their movies have almost all done poorly in the box office. It's just like, what is it? Why is it stop motion? Like, what is it?
It could be stop motion. It could be the British approach to the feature, like especially when most of the characters would speak in a British tone, and like I guess maybe like with Aardman especially, it's something that caters more to a British audience, especially with the stop motion style, with the type of comedy that it plays, with the actors that they would bring in, because it's very rare for them to actually get like Hollywood actors and stuff like that. And I mean, especially with their time with DreamWorks, like they would try to go and Americanize some of the movies, like bring in like Mel Gibson for Chicken Run, or have Helena Bonham Carter and Ralph Fiennes, I believe, in Curse of the Were-Rabbit. But I guess I don't know. I think it's like there's kind. I guess it didn't. it's kind of hard to answer. It's hard to really figure out like what is it specifically about Aardman that doesn't necessarily land as well in the US. It's kind of like with the kind of like with a lot of the Belgian comics. Like why is it that Asterix or Tintin or debatably I don't know, the Smurfs, because they're able to do so, like some of those, like they're not as big in the US as they would in like Europe and in other countries.
Well, I'd be very curious if our listeners, if you've lasted this long on the episode, let us know what you think. What is it about stop motion or Aardman in specific that is not taking off the way that at least I would hope that it would? I mean, it still obviously has its following, but just not as successful as I feel like it should be. But anyway, this was a great surprise. I mean, not really surprised, but I just really enjoyed it. So that was fun. Yeah, I was very happy.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So there we go. Well, which one do you think will in the end win, and which would you pick? Oh, I mean, I guess you already said Wallace and Gromit.
Well, my pick would be Wallace and Gromit, but if I would say who would win, trying to think about it, I think the one who has the strongest chance, because for me, again, I think it's still a toss-up between Flo, Wild Robot, and Inside Out 2, but I think the one with the strongest chance, maybe Flo. I think Flo might have a stronger chance to go and grab that win, even more than the Wild Robot. But again, like, I wouldn't be surprised if it would either be Wild Robot or Inside Out 2. But if I would say who would be the one that could have the strongest chance at this point, I think Flo could actually get the win on this one.
And I think if it wins at the BAFTAs, that will be huge. I think in its momentum and just, but
that would be Wallace and Gromit, though. Let's be real.
Well, so I think that the Wild Robot will win, only because, I mean, I love it, but only because I just think more people will have seen it than seen Flo. And so that would be my prediction, but I would not be surprised at all. And I'm terrible at predicting the Oscars, so don't listen to me at all. I'm always wrong.
Although I would ask you this, like, I would say maybe you're right that maybe there are more people who have seen the Wild Robot, more so than Flo. But I would ask, how many people have seen the Wild Robot compared to Flo recently? Because it's often what would get, be in their most recent memory, in terms of like, what would they go and vote for?
They are re-releasing it. But yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, it's a tough one. Like I said, usually the animated film is usually pretty predictable, but this year it's pretty competitive. So, but yeah, I think I would still pick the Wild Robot. If Flo wins at BAFTAs, then that might change my mind. But yeah, so let us know what you think. What are you putting on your ballots? And what are you predicting? We'd love to hear in the comment section or on Twitter or wherever you are on social media. Let us know. And Matt, where can people find you?
Well, you can find me in several places. Well, particularly on YouTube, you can find me on Electric Dragon 505. I also have my own podcast, Animat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, which you can find on YouTube, or you can find it on my Twitch channel, Animat Live. I also have a Patreon. You could just write down Mat Brunet or Animat. I am also on Blue Sky, in which you can follow me there as well. Again, just Mat Brunet or Animat. At the same time, I could say the same thing about Instagram and Facebook as well.
Yeah. And if you get to the end after this very long podcast, put in your comment, hashtag Matt and Rachel talk Oscars. Then we'll know that you listened to the whole thing. So put that in. That would be a lot of fun. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews all over the place, and at Hallmarkies Podcast. Got a lot of stuff going on over there as well. And I'll put a link down to my interviews with Merlin and Nick from Aardman from a while back. That was really fun. So if you want to listen to that, also my interview with Gintz, you definitely want to check that out. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. Really appreciate that. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. Also have the Patreon group and merch store. You can hashtag Animation Junkie shirts at the merch store. So check that out. And thanks so much. And we'll talk to y'all later. Bye.
See you later, dudes.